People actually invoked the gripe about the appreciated, and so you serve that up to them on Silver
The original team was Ohio.
Malachi Punch.
And Ohio was like the entire world of the
Maybe I did.
Why is the national happy day?
because it's like basically the yesterday I did a verse up.
I was a fan of that show.
Someone is like always has.
Yeah, you were.
That was your I was one of the best.
Yeah.
Even as the first astronaut always was.
I think she's worried. I think she's intrigued. No, you're me. Yeah. Of course, it was created on December 11th, 2016, but it was about a flat earth mission.
Oh no,
It was currently designed at this point.
remember it was very tall.
Still telling.
Well, these are quite crude.
What's that series?
It's all 10 years. Always high school. All time.
That's the point. Playing time unaffected.
And I should read some of these out loud right here.
Bottom line unaffected.
Never mind.
They're gonna get 500 yards whether you play three plays. Doesn't matter.
Just a ball.
I was thinking week 2, week 8.
Just a follow up.
Moving into further action in 23.
I knew what I saw.
Because if you say, what do you mean?
It looks like you do.
Again? Like it was like, I don't know, it's like, track the question.
No.
Maybe you get your first astronaut.
You don't need it. Nobody wants to share this.
Just wait till they turn it back.
The whole world.
It always was.
You're always the second until you're first. It's fake. It was empty.
All right, folks, thanks for showing up once again for a press conference. We'll open up the floor with front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Ryan. I want to get into some of the adjustments you made offensively. It seemed like you guys were kind of attacking the boundary early and then adjusted to attacking the field. What went into that? Was Iowa maybe doing some things that they hadn't shown on film? And can you just get into some of the adjustments you made?
Yeah, a little bit. They went to a little bit more of the single high stuff and just made a few adjustments, and then it took a little time to figure out. But also when we started playing, with the full field, we kind of got in a rhythm too. So I think a little bit played into both of those things. But they still did a lot of their fundamental stuff that they do, but a few different looks. And so, we just tried to, figure out where we could attack them and kind of made those adjustments. Yeah.
We'll go fourth row, right, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, given your offense, how often do you run into situations like that where everything you see from a defense and scouting is here, and then what you see from them against you is here because of the Iowa stuff, and then you see Penn State give up 400 yards rushing a couple weeks ago? Is that even applicable to what you're going to see from them? this week?
I think every week is a different season. I look at it like that. You start from scratch, and you look at where you are. You look where your opponent is. You look at the matchup, personnel wise. You look at the matchup schematically, and then as you get later in the week, you start to figure out how it fits, what that matchup looks like, and then you do all that work, and then all of a sudden you get to the game, and you may have to take a right-hand turn real fast because of a lot of reasons. It might be the conditions. It might be something that schematically shown up, maybe an injury. You don't know, but every week is different, and you try to do the best you can to identify where you think you can be the most successful week in and week out. And you evaluate the film and try to figure out why somebody may have had success or not success, and you try to forecast the best you can.
Do you spend time thinking, what if they do something differently than what we've seen, or do you just work on what you've seen?
No, that's how I spend probably the 48 hours leading up to a game, is exactly what you just said, and have a lot of sheets of contingency plans in place for what if. And we'd say sometimes you're chasing ghosts, but I've been in games before where we didn't chase those ghosts and we didn't have answers, and that's not a good feeling. So it's our job as coaches to have answers and to put our players in best position to be successful. So that's our job.
Right next door, Cameron T. Robinson, the Athletic.
Ryan, when you're not running the ball as well as you have been this season, how much harder does it make it being pushing in the red zone there? And do you feel like that was the main reason why you guys weren't as efficient as you have been in the red zone?
I think it played a factor. Yeah, we could have done a better job. A couple calls you'd like to have back, a couple plays we'd like to have back. We had the penalty down there that hurt us, and just a few things in general. So, yeah, when you have the balance and you're getting 4 and 5 on a run as opposed to 1, 2, or 3, yeah, it makes a big difference.
Right next door, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Kind of along the same lines, Brian. The offensive line, what did you see that you liked from them on Saturday? What you didn't like? It seemed like that was the first time that you kind of struggled to get a push and run the ball.
Yep. Like you said, there was some good things there. There was some really good protection at times. There was a breakdown of protection. We did some good things running the football. I thought we did a really good job on one play. We had a slip that could have turned into an explosive. We had one that I thought the line did a good job of. We didn't do a good enough job of cracking the safety. So it was a little bit of everything, but there was good and there was bad, and the issues were there. But when you play against a better defense, those issues come to the surface more. So we'll keep pushing and keep trying to address those issues so that we get better every week.
I'll go deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Coach, I guess I want to ask you about the things that motivated you guys in the offseason. The idea that you're trying to be the tougher team, that you're trying to have that competitive excellence. I know you use that term with us a lot, but how much do you find that stuff is still part of your prep each week? Do you focus on any of that, or is the past so far behind you that you're just locked in where you are now?
No, it's a part of every week. Yeah, we hit on it every week. We'll hit on it again today. We'll hit on it this week. We know that we have to bring it every week. And, we knew when we see the schedule going into State College is going to be a huge challenge, always is. So, our guys understand what a challenge this is going to be. And so we got to have a great week of preparation. And this is part of that competitive excellence, and competitive stamina. Bringing it every single week and going on the road and winning a game like this is going to be huge.
Right in front of him, Jacob Bench, the Lantern.
There on Saturday against Iowa, your defense really led the way there. Just what did you kind of notice just game planning last week with Jim Knowles and talk conversations that way, just for the defense to step up and have the performance that it did?
Yeah, they identified the areas where we felt like we had advantages and were opportunistic early on, got our hands on balls, created turnovers, and then just kept the pressure on all day. But when you can start off the game with an interception like that, I know it really throws off the offense and can rattle the confidence, just across the board. And it seemed like, we kind of were attacking all day on defense. And when you can create that many turnovers, certainly your chances of winning go way up.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Chip was at running back against Iowa on Saturday. What went into that decision? And is that something that's going to be more permanent, or just like a week-by-week basis?
Yeah, we lost TC, for the year. So he won't be available. It's a long-term issue. And he had been doing some good things for us. And so we felt like, we needed to provide more depth at that position. And Chip really had come to us a couple weeks ago and just said, hey, listen, if you need anything on offense, I'm here for you, which is just the way he is. He's an unbelievable person and great attitude. So, we just felt like the time was right. And, so that means, EA's got to do a good job of stepping up over there and be the fourth linebacker for us. And, we get Taraja back. And so, we felt like we had some depth over there at linebacker, and Chip could help us on offense and certainly has experience of playing last year. So, it's good to get him out there and get him part of the unit, because I think we're going to need him.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Rivals, 97.1 The Fan.
Ryan, after the pitch count for Jackson, I saw him just talking to Heartline, talking to you. Did he want to go back in on Saturday because of the way he came out? Like, it looked like he was trying to get back out.
Yeah, he's always been trying to get back out there. He's a competitor, and it's been hard for him not to be out there more. But we wanted to make sure that we kept that number to right about 20, and make sure that we didn't put him out there anymore.
You're not going to say too much about this, but it just looked like maybe they were evaluating him for something different than the hamstring. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what the way it looked to me. Is that sort of a yes or no there?
Yeah, there was nothing else other than just the normal evaluations. Yeah.
Over to the right, Don Berry, WBNS 10 TV.
Coach, noon kick at Happy Valley. Are you happy it's not a night game at whiteout? And just overall impression of Penn State. How good are these guys?
Yep. Well, no matter when you go into Penn State, it's going to be a challenge. They do a great job with the atmosphere. And our guys, there's still a handful of guys that, that went in 2018, but not all of them. So, we went in 2020, it was different. There was COVID, but we know whether it's a night game, afternoon game, noon game, it's going to be a challenge. Their crowd's going to be in it, and they'll play a factor. So, and they're a good team. You can see what they did last week. You can see what they did, all season, and really good coaches, really good players, veteran quarterback. So, new scheme this year on defense. We play good on special teams. So, we got to play our A game.
Play Hall, WSYX.
Sean Clifford, what's your take on him?
Played a lot of football, and a lot of guys, who play that much football, just they have so many snaps under their belt. They've seen so many different things, and that makes him dangerous in and of itself. But he's tough. He's really good throwing the ball. He's accurate. He's made a lot of plays in his career with his feet and with his arm, and so anytime we play, Penn State, and certainly with Clifford, we know that they're really good and they can attack you a bunch of different ways.
You run across him in recruiting?
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, very good player. A lot of respect.
Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
Stroud is obviously kind of judged almost against perfection a lot of the times. And when you look at him have a game where maybe things aren't going right in the first half there, how much are you involved? How much do you say, hey, work through that yourself?
No, it's a team effort, and it's a bunch of things that come into play, and it's never just one thing. I mean, there's a lot of things that we want to clean up coming out of that first quarter, especially, and then we did, and that was good. So we try not to panic when things don't go exactly as planned, because we know that that's not always the case. Usually it's one of three things: either you're going to go up early in the game, it's going to be back and forth, or you're going to go down in the game. And based on how you play, that's typically the outcome. So how are you going to react to that? And we were struggling a little bit, but we were getting field goals, and defense was playing good, and nobody panicked, and we started solving the problems and got back into a rhythm there in the second half.
Mentally, do you ask him what he saw on that play, if it's interception or something, or do you just kind of assume he knows what's going on and let him go back to the hunt?
A little bit of both. There's times where you want to get some feedback, but then also, I think as the quarterback, I know when I played, you don't want a lot of noise in your head. All that work on the front end is done, so you can go play. But then there's also times where you got to connect on some things. But I'm not one to flood the quarterback with a bunch of information in game. I don't think that's a good idea. Let them go play, trust their preparation, and go from there.
Kellyanne Stitz, WSYX.
Coach, Noah Rebels picked up Big Ten honors this week. He opened the scoring for you guys on Saturday. How important was his performance, and how does he help give you guys a leg up on the competition?
Yeah, well, in that game, we kept the momentum going with those field goals and getting points on the board. And when you play against matchup teams, anytime you're trying to score points, it's going to be big. And it starts with the protection. We certainly know, what happened a few years ago there, with the blocked field goal. So all these little things add up in games, and certainly field goals matter. And, in this case, it's 12 points, and that's huge, at the end of the day. So, we're going to need that more and more. And certainly as these games get closer, it's going to be important for him to play well.
Far left, Ryan McGee, ESPN.
Ryan, that wide receivers room fascinates me. What's it like in that room? Because it's a group of young professionals, and obviously Jackson hasn't been available. But what's that room like? What does it make them special?
Yeah, I think there's some guys in that room that are very mature. I think when you just get around them, you realize for their age, they don't look like they're 18, 19, 20. They don't talk like it. They don't act like it. They don't speak like it, but they are. And it's pretty remarkable sometimes when you think about who they are as people and just the maturity level of all those guys in that room. I shouldn't say all of them. Some of them still have some work to do. But I think it started back with Terry McLaurin and Paris Campbell and Johnny Dixon. And they just brought this certain level of accountability to that room. And then, Chris Olave and guys picked it up over time. And now, you're seeing, Emeka and Marvin and Julian and, really take it over and run. And they started and cut their teeth on special teams. They come in as freshmen, they put their work in, and then kind of show up and play in the second half of the season. And then by the time they get to that second year, they're ready to go. And that's kind of been the blueprint for them. And it's working. But I think you're seeing probably, just ask like what makes them different is just how well-rounded they are. They're physical. They're in the run game. They can carry the ball. They're involved with special teams. They can make play underneath, run after catch, downfield. Pretty well-rounded, and obviously great people.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, with the obvious caveat that we know how good CJ is, it seems looking back at some of his misses, interceptions, it's come when he's been off his spot, not able to set his feet, things like that. When you're a quarterback who maybe isn't a guy who's used to running like some of the guys you've had, how has he worked on that, and how do you continue to work on some of those things that maybe in practice you're not able to simulate?
Sure. You try to do the best you can to simulate the game in practice. And that's really important to do. And sometimes we can do that really well. Sometimes we can't. I think you've seen him make some plays like the one he scrambled around and made the play to Cade Stover. I thought that was an excellent extension of the play. He threw away the ball at times, which was really good. I agree. When you look at things and you have to move in the pocket, you have to keep your balance and you got to keep your feet underneath you. And I think he's done a good job of that this year. But yeah, it's our job to try to simulate that in practice. So what does that mean? Maybe in 7-on-7, kind of flashing in front and making him move his feet. Those are things that we typically do with the quarterbacks.
Right next door, Andy Andrews, Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
Julian, the last couple games has made big plays down the field on looked like post routes specifically. How has he evolved as a downfield threat as his career has progressed?
Yeah, well, I think he's always been good at that. I remember watching him in high school, and he was always good, big, strong, long strides. He could eat up a lot of ground. He can track a ball very well. I just think you're seeing now the best version of Julian for a lot of reasons. But he kind of came in on a different journey maybe than what I just spoke about, where the freshman and then coming into the second year, he had a couple injuries that derailed him. And so he stuck with it and had an unbelievable offseason. And now you're starting to see the best version of him. And, he's strong, he's powerful, he's physical, and he's a presence out there. And you're starting to see the big playability downfield the last, 3 games.
Third row right, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Just to be clear about Jackson, nothing about his exit on Saturday had anything to do with him not feeling good anyway.
Right.
Pitch count.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still on track to play on Saturday.
That's the plan. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kind of pitch count on Saturday? Should he play?
We'll see as the week goes on. We'll know more. When you come out of games like that, you got to keep evaluating and see how things go. But we'll keep figuring more stuff out, and by the end of the week, we'll have a better idea.
Second row right, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Ryan, when you guys have a base run play like you guys have with stretch that is sort of the foundation of your run game, how much conversation is there throughout the week about making sure you're sprinkling it enough to protect that so teams don't tee off on it? And does that conversation or calculus change at all when you're playing a really good defense that you guys were last week? Yeah, no, good question, because there was a couple of them last week that, we got negative plays on, and it isn't so much, mixing it up, although you have to mix it up. You want to have things that
go up the middle, go to the outside, go to the strong side, go to the weak side, those type of things. But more than that, it's usually just identifying, who you're working to. But like you said, we want to make sure we have a good mixture. I think we've had a good mixture. But at the end of the day, if you're good running the football, your best run play should be good just about anything. And we want to put our guys in schematically the best answers and make sure that the numbers are right and the angles and the leverage is right. But I don't think that was the case on Saturday.
When your offense is kind of multi-formational as you guys are, you go under center, pistol, shotgun, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a percentage in your head you want to make sure you're around so that you're not, always running the ball when you're in pistol or always throwing the ball when you're in shotgun? Like a balance there to keep these defenses from, again, teeing off on certain things.
I'd like to be aware of what they're looking at and what they see and what the numbers show. And so that as long as you're aware, then I think, you're making sound decisions. If you have a certain tendencies that 80% of the time you do this, and as long as you know that, you call it again, you know what to expect. I think where you get yourself jammed up is when you have a tendency that you don't know about, and all of a sudden you start getting ganged up on. I think that's what's important.
Front row, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, you guys have faced some good receivers this year, like Jaden Reed at Michigan State. But wondering what you think of the collection of Penn State's skill position talent across the board, and just the challenge of that matchup this week for you.
Yeah, a big challenge. The combination of quarterback and wide receiver will be the biggest challenge so far. And like you said, they're good. A good collection of talent, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and the quarterback.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
You talked before about using both Trevion and Mayan partially because getting them later in the season in better health. Is there a point in the season where you start to look at that distribution, a bigger role for Trevion, I guess potentially a bigger role for Mayan? How are you processing that? Do you want one of those guys to potentially maybe have a bigger role?
No, I think where we're at is good. We got them both healthy now, so that's good. We're getting ourselves back into a rhythm of them both playing because it's been a couple weeks, I guess, since we had them both. And so, no, I think we're pretty good where we're at right now.
Ryan, you've talked a lot about not panicking in the middle of a game, and you don't want to fill CJ's head with too much noise. Just what's been your evolution as a play caller, as a coach, of figuring all that out, of maybe sticking with what you want to do, but also adjusting? Is that how much do you grow over time with figuring all that out?
Well, I remember early on, you get into a game and all of a sudden something changes or something doesn't go as planned, and you can panic and start to take a right-hand turn fast. And then you go back on the film the next day and you're like, the film was exactly the way that we left it. And something just changed in the game, but the film didn't change. What I mean by that is the looks were the same. The plays were good. We just got to do a better job of executing. And, made that mistake in the past of, overreacting or panicking and trying to take a left-hand turn or right-hand turn when you don't need to. And that's why the preparation is so important Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
I feel like a lot of times we end up asking about adjustments.
Sure.
And of course you have to make them, but there also is a part of it of stick to our
That's
guns and we'll work it out eventually if we believe in ourselves.
A little bit of both, for sure. Yeah, a little bit of both for sure. Because you can't overreact, because very rarely does a team just all of a sudden go off the deep end and completely change everything they're doing. But there are some change ups. For instance, last week, you saw them play a lot more single high, which they were typically almost 80 to 90% quarters going into that game. So you have to make some adjustments in game, but you can't go, taking a hard right-hand turn. Yeah.
Front row right, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to sneak two questions into one. I'm going to do it overtly.
KG veteran.
It's hard to imagine. Yeah, it's hard to imagine this defense without Tanner McAllister in it and without Lathan Ransom in it at this point. And both those guys have had different journeys to get to this moment and stuff. But are you? Nothing was promised Tanner, I don't think, when he showed up for Oklahoma State, except you'd get a shot, right? And then what has Lathan kind of brought to the table here of late that kind of sets him apart?
Tanner, yeah, exactly what you said. He came in with Jim, and it just all kind of worked out great. And he understood that he had to work and earn his way into, playing at Ohio State. This isn't a place you just walk in and play. There's a lot of pride here, a lot of work that's been done. And certainly because of our off season and the work we put in the off season, it's very difficult for someone just to step in. It takes a very special person. And we've had a few over the years, Trey Sermon and Jonah Jackson and, Justin Fields and now Tanner, and Chip's doing a good job too, just the way he's gone about his business. And so in this year or this day and age of the transfer, we try to be really smart about that because I think a culture is really important. But great to have him, and certainly he understands. Like we've talked about the defense so well, he's kind of like a coach on the field, and that's been big. And now that you have Lathan back, it's been big. I think what we're doing with Lathan on defense really fits his skill set, and he's taken off. I think you're starting to see the best version of him. I think he's got a great relationship with Perry. I think coming off that injury last year, you see how tough he is because that was a quick return after a very difficult injury, and it's great to see him making plays. And I think again, this style of defense really fits him. Yep.
Front row middle. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, another one about the run game. Travion and Mayan combined for 57 yards and 21 carries. I think the longest was 13 yards. There were some tackles for loss. How concerning is that, especially when you're going to be playing teams down the road they're going to be like Iowa?
Right. Well, it's like when you go into a game and you rush for 300 yards and the game gets over and you're like, oh, we're good. Now we're going to go rush for 300 yards in every game. It's the same thing when maybe something doesn't go well. You're not going to go into a game next week and say, well, you're only going to rush for 20 yards or whatever it is. I think you just have to identify what you did well and what you didn't do well, and make those corrections and move forward. So, the result is a feedback on your preparation. How you did that week, and we obviously didn't do well enough to our standard. No, I can't say that there was one thing, but just overall lack of execution.
Far left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, it looked like Bradley Robinson suffered a significant knee injury on Saturday. Just what's his status? Is there a chance to be able to come back this year?
Yeah, I haven't got the final report on that, but maybe we'll have an update later in the week for you.
If he's not able to play, would Mason continue to be the guy at long snapper?
Yeah, we would have Mason and Max available.
We're going to try to get a few more second questions in. Front row right, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
Ryan, your football robot at linebacker scored a touchdown on Saturday, and he seemed incredibly nonplussed about it afterwards. Right. Did you get any emotion from him? It's a pretty big deal to score a touchdown for Ohio State. Not even a smile we could get out of him.
We got a little smile. I saw a little smile. I don't know if he'll admit it or not, but I saw a little one creak. But and to see him, celebrate in the end zone, that's about as much as you're going to get from Tommy. But he's just so consistent and solid, and he has really, and I've seen it. Just again, quietly is probably not the right word, but just when no one's watching, he's got a strong voice, and I've heard it, I've seen it, and when he says something, people listen. But he's not one that's going to be out in front barking at everybody. But when he's in the room, and he's on the field, and he's got a strong presence.
Cleveland.com.
You know Manny Diaz very well at all, Penn State coordinator, and then what do you think of the defense they run this year?
Yeah, I don't. I think we've maybe met once, but a lot of respect for him, and they've they have a really talented defense, and he's really good in terms of schematics and what they do. They do a lot of stuff, and so we got to be prepared for it.
Did you consider him at all this offseason?
I tried not to really get into who we talked about or interviewed and everything like that. So rather not get into that now, but again, a lot of respect for who he is as a coordinator.
Far right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Just curious what your perception of Penn State was when you were playing at New Hampshire and they're kind of an Eastern power. Has that changed for you now that you?
Growing up watching Penn State was a big deal. Yeah, and when you're in the Northeast and watching some of those teams and the national championship team, and a lot of respect for that program over the years and what they've done, and so it's just, I guess it's just an evolution of the game. And it's like when I coached the NFL and had to go into Foxborough and we had to play Brady and Belichick, I didn't know whether I was supposed to cheer for myself or for them. So it's just things happen in your career and you just move on. And but what a great program, and obviously what a great place to play.
You think it's still there? I mean, that profile, that notoriety, that
no question. Absolutely. Yep.
Deep left, Dan Holt, 11 Warriors.
Ryan, we didn't see Josh Proctor play at all on Saturday. Just wonder, was there any reason he didn't play other than Lathan being the starter?
Just an illness. Yeah, he'd be back practicing this week.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, you're obviously familiar with Mike Yursich. Just want to get your thoughts on him and how instrumental he was in getting CJ here.
Yeah, first up big with that first year in developing Justin, which was really important, and then certainly had a huge hand in recruiting CJ. I remember when he and I were out in California recruiting, and I was supposed to be at the Home Depot Awards that I missed, Jerry, and we got in trouble that night. Remember, because I wasn't there. Well, and I think they wanted to fine us for that, but I was.
Maybe
Did they? Well, find you. Well, we were doing a home visit with CJ Stroud, so they can fine us. They can fine us whatever they want. But that was on a Thursday after the Big Ten championship game, and he was a big hand in that, and certainly had a great relationship with he and Kim and the whole family. So, but a very good mind, very sharp, always creative, and a really good play caller.
I didn't know that's who you were visiting.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Wow. Second row middle, Nathan Barrett, Cleveland.com.
What went into that number, the 20 number on Jackson's pitch count? And I guess I know you're going to say week-to-week evaluation,
Yeah.
but like, is there a ramping up that you anticipate to happen that gets him to a bigger role, and any concept of how long that might take?
So this is, something that, we have such great people in sports medicine and our doctors. And so, there's really been a very specific plan on how to get him back to playing. A number of total yards per day, number of high-speed yards per day. And then after each practice, evaluating the strength of range of motion and strength. And so, we're just kind of following that lead. It's way over my head. I'm trying to figure out what to call on third down and all the strength and numbers and things like this. So we're just relying on the doctors to give us the information, and we just go from there.
Who is kind of the main point person for that?
There's everybody involved. Yeah, it's all hands on deck.
Far left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach. Cameron Brown, I think, missed the last game as well at corner, and Jordan Hancock, I think, finally got to play a little bit. Just those two situations, kind of where's Cam, and what was the response on how Jordan did his first time out?
Yeah, Cam, not a long-term thing at all, so expecting to have him back soon. But great to see Jordan back out there. It's been a long road for him. He's been dying to get back on the field, and there was ups and downs during I guess it was 9 weeks, where he was coming back and did a great job of being, especially in the last couple weeks, of really diving in and being serious and making sacrifices and really focusing on being healthy to get back out there. But Jordan Hancock loves playing football, and you can see it in his play, and it's great to have him back on the field with our defense.
Fourth to the right, Cameron T. Robinson, The Athletic.
Ryan, you mentioned Iowa is normally a quarters type of defense. They come out and play single high on you. I know you guys have kind of script when you start the game. As a play caller, at what point when you realize that Iowa is doing something different than you think, do you throw the script away, or do you have stuff in that script to adjust to get what you expect?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We don't really script like the first 10 plays. We have openers. And the reason why we don't do that is really for what happened on Saturday. You have like 10 plays that you script in your practice, and all of a sudden your first 3 drives are, on like the whatever yard line it was. And so, we have some things that we like that we rep out and walkthroughs before, and, first third down calls, first red zone call. And then, we quickly adjust from there, like you're saying, because I've just been around it before where you spend so much time getting good at those 10 plays. And once those 10 plays are over, you got no rhythm. And so we try not to do that, but we do have opening thoughts.
Got time for just a couple more. Front row right, Tim May, Letterman row.
Yeah. Sometimes you see CJ just sitting there on the bench, staring straight ahead, et cetera. Do you communicate with him between series about, hey, we want to go this direction, maybe next time, et cetera? And is part of that the visualization, it's easy for me to say, of him getting that into his mind about where you want to go?
Sure. Yeah.
I've never asked that, but it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, no, he's been excellent on the sideline. I think his attitude's been great. His thought process has been great. The feedback's been great. What he's seeing out there. And usually it's, what are you seeing? Is it exactly what we practice? Is it different? Here are the adjustments. And then here's what we're thinking, maybe going back out. Sometimes, I've been there before where you put a couple plays in their mind, and then you get the ball on the, plus 20, and now it changes. And so, again, try not to put too much in their head, certainly in CJ's head, because when he's clear and he's playing, I mean, that's when he's at his best, and he's so intelligent that he's going to process everything you say. So you got to be smart about what you say.
Does Joey Porter jump off the video at you?
Yeah.
When you watch?
Yeah.
In what way?
First off, you just notice his length and his ability to get hands on you. And then, he gets his hands on a lot of passes. Very, very strong at the line of scrimmage and great cover skills. And for his size, can really change direction.
Far left, Ryan McGee, ESPN.
Yeah, Ryan, watching Justin 10 minutes ago and talking about CJ, momentum when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to position groups.
Yep.
Is that a real thing, pride in a position group?
Yeah, I think so. I think, in 2017, going through the recruiting process, and, I remember recruiting families and recruits, and, they would say, how come there's never been very many first-round draft picks at quarterback here? And I'd say, well, there's going to be real soon. And I took a lot of pride in that, because I feel like no matter what position you coach here at Ohio State, it should be that position what else do you want? If you're the linebackers coach, it should be linebacker you. If you're the quarterbacks coach, it should be quarterback you. If you're the running backs coach, it should be running back you. And I remember Urban Meyer saying to me, so what are we looking for in a quarterback? He said, well, just go find an ex-Heisman Trophy winner. I said, okay, let me get to work here. But that's kind of the way it is at Ohio State, and that's the expectation. That's the way it should be.
And final question, Adam King, WBNS.
I know you're probably tired of talking about Jackson, but when you have somebody on a pitch count like that, how much can it sometimes change the offense mid-game? You're bringing him out, you're hoping to have him out there. You said you have plays specifically for Jackson. Does that kind of throw you guys off a little bit at all?
No, it doesn't. I know what you're saying, but no, our guys are very intelligent. They can jump in and out of positions, whether it's the Z, the H, the X, we can jump in and out of 11, 10, 12. And our guys really don't get affected too much by that. So, no, it shouldn't be a problem.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, All right, we're going to open up the floor for Coach Knowles. Second row middle, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Jim Knowles, you actually got to see Jordan Hancock playing a game and had a chance to look at the film. What did you like about what he brought to the table? Like, what does he bring to that cornerback room?
He's aside from he has great length and skills, but he also he sees the formation well. He sees the adjustment. He can predict pre-snap what's going to happen. He's really got a high football intelligence.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
When you reviewed the Iowa game, again, we know what their offense is. Did it look as good to you on review? And what really stood out to you?
It was good. Obviously I see a lot of things that happen within a play that maybe could have gone the other way. I see all the room that where we can improve. I love the fact that we were getting turnovers and winning on third down. I thought, Zach Harrison had a great game. You love to see that kind of play up front. So, I thought we were together, did a lot of right things. I also saw areas where I know we can improve.
Front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Jim. Coach Day was talking about with Chip moving to running back now full-time. EA is going to have to step up as that second-team middle linebacker. Of course, with Tommy playing as well as he's playing, hopefully you guys won't need him. But what do you expect out of EA? What's kind of his strengths and just what do you expect out of EA?
EA has great athleticism. He has linebacker instinct, I guess, too, and some EA just to stay healthy, right? I just really want him to have a good week of practice because I've always felt like he could emerge if he strung together some games and some weeks of practice of being healthy. He's just had a tough time of it.
Far left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Jim, I mentioned how well Zach Harrison played, but he didn't play that many snaps. When you see a guy play that well, do you think, hey, maybe we should keep him on the field more frequently going forward?
I think that all is dictated by the pace of the game and there are a lot of other factors to determine that, how Coach Johnson feels about the rotation, but those are not decisions that we jump to. Things are working, you kind of go with the flow.
Front row right, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Jim, I asked you a little bit about this after the game today, but I want to follow up. Like I just asked Ryan, it's hard to kind of right now imagine this defense without Tanner McAllister in it and Lathan Ransom, the way Ransom is, like you said, triggering, et cetera. But from your vantage point, what do those two guys bring to that table in that safety room? And will we see Lathan considerably more as this season goes on now?
Lathan, I've told you all along, has just been a guy that I've been totally impressed with since he emerged, since he was able to practice, because not looking at much from last year and not having him go in the spring, didn't know what to expect. But yeah, he's got a hot hand. He's just he's one of those safeties that can see the forest through the trees and pull his trigger and go. So guys playing like that, yeah, you want to keep them going. And Tanner, I've said it all along, just he brings a coaching presence to the room in terms of understanding the system, having answers for the other guys. Also, he knows me, so he knows how I coach and what I'm trying to do. And it's always good to have somebody younger, who can talk about that to the players.
Yeah, but he was promised. I would think he was promised a shot if he came here, but he wasn't necessarily promised you're going to be one of the guys. You know what I mean? That shows some maturity, right?
Yeah, it showed. Yes, it's a lot of faith in me, a lot of faith in himself, and also the fact that he wanted to stretch himself. It's guy gets to that point in your career. I think it takes a lot of character to say, hey, I want to stretch myself to try something new at this point in my career. And I give him a lot of credit for that.
Front row middle, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan mentioned that this collection of receivers and the quarterback Penn State has is probably the biggest challenge you guys have faced in defending the pass this year. What makes them maybe a tough test in that regard, and what do you guys need to do to counteract that?
I think, the quarterback is veteran. He's very smart. He's good at reading what you're doing, delivering the ball. He's tough, hangs in there. He can scramble. He's just a really good quarterback. He's an operator. And the receivers, they're skillful, and they can they can go up and win a lot of 50-50 balls. They're good route runners. I just think that whole operation will be a challenge for us.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Your thoughts on what Teron Vincent is giving you guys this season, and what his presence means in the middle of that defensive line?
He's a veteran guy who, made the decision when I got here to buy in, and I think that is really important, for all of us to recognize. Again, it's not easy for a guy who's been around a while to all of a sudden have somebody new come in and tell him, hey, this is the way we're going to do this. And he had that maturity and that vision, or that, early confidence in me to say, hey, we're going to follow. And because he has the respect of the other players, he brings, brought a lot of guys along with him. It's a big deal, and so he really helped in that total buy-in from the whole defense.
Front row right,
So did you have like a conversation with him early on?
No, no, not specifically. We just kind of grew into it together to where we have a really good relationship. I didn't. To me, it's hard to have those conversations until you know a guy. You know what I mean? You don't. So we kind of got to know each other, and it happened naturally. And really, really proud of him and thankful for the help he's given me.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Letterman Road, 97.1 The Fan.
Jim, you'd said a week or two ago that there were more things you felt like you could get to with this defense, and Tanner sort of indicated after the game on Saturday that he can feel you getting more of that stuff on the field. Is that when you have everything at your disposal and you know that the players out there are more comfortable or confident executing that, how does that change the comfort or confidence for you in calling a play when you know that you can get deeper in to that bag?
Yeah, I mean, it is a process, you know, and like I said, a lot of times we rep things in practice 2-3 weeks out and that we haven't used yet. And you're right. I have to be comfortable with it because it's not, if you make a mistake, it's costly, right? On defense, it can really hurt the entire team. So, yeah, the growth process, I think in terms of us implementing the complete system, we're getting there, but we have some things that we've worked on and haven't used yet, haven't had to use them, and it's, when things are going well, it's not about putting something on there that could, that maybe you're just not 100% sure about. So we keep working them in practice and growing it. So there's a lot of growth outside of what shows on the field in terms of, scheme.
Right behind him, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Jim, when you're facing a team that has a really good slot receiver like Penn State has, how have you historically approached that? Is that the nickel's job? Are you comfortable moving a corner over if need be? Do you want that guy to see multiple bodies throughout the game? Just what's your philosophy there?
Yeah, I think that is exactly like you said. It's recognizing it, having certain ideas on who we want the matchup to be and how we're going to play it. But then it's also creating some doubt in the quarterback's mind. I mean, I think that becomes a lot of what we do in terms of what he's going to get, so it's like half of it, it's about the guy. The other half of it is about the quarterback, and trying to create enough cloudy pictures so it just doesn't feel, free always going to that guy.
Right next door, Doug Lane Reese, Cleveland.com.
Jim, this is just a version of the question we've asked you every time since you got here, but obviously you see room for improvement with this defense still, but just the arc of understanding and confidence and performance of this defense, where do you see it right now from the minute you got here to the way you guys played against Iowa?
I would, you described it perfectly. It's an arc, and it's definitely has trended up, and continues to trend up. It's my job to keep that going. You can't ever stay the same in this business. You can't stay the same. You have to keep pushing and prodding and looking for ways to improve, things to add, and you want to, I think the success breeds further success, right? So you want to give the players some sugar, but not too much sugar, because too much sugar is not good for anybody, right? So you just try to point out the things and give them a clap on the back for that and say, okay, now that we've done this, we can go to this. And it's just really about habits. It's never to me about one particular day. It's more about habits. It's the competitive stamina that Coach Day talks about and that Coach Mick talks about in the weight room. We are what we repeatedly do, right? Excellence, it's not an act, it's a habit. That's Aristotle, I think, right? Not Jim Knowles. But what I'm saying is, it's like you said, it's an arc and it's a push, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. All I see is the team that's in front of us, and here's what we're going to do, and presenting a plan. The process is the same. The expectations are different, but you keep the process and you keep keeping your foot on the metal.
Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Coach, maybe building off that question a little bit, how difficult is it when you're evaluating your performance on any given week? How difficult is it to remove what you see from the opposing offense and simply focus on what you're trying to accomplish? Because you see offenses that are really good, and last week you saw an offense that struggled this year.
Yeah, it's not difficult at all. It's really not, because you look at the play, you look at the call, and did we execute it? And if we didn't, why didn't we? If we did, here's the thing that worked about it. You know, it really is a narrow view. You don't get involved in all of that. At least I don't in my head. You know, I want to see the play. I want to see what they did. I want to see what we did, given the call, what I expected, how it finished. Did something happen that I didn't expect? What was the technique? And you can really break it. That's what we do. You break it down and you study it for what it is, and you correct, motivate, teach off of that.
Fourth row middle, Andy Anders, Buckeye Sports Bulletin.
Yeah, so I think I kind of wanted to get an insight onto some of the communication of the defense. I know a lot
I'm not telling you any of that.
Fair enough. I'll ask a different question then. With the three linebacker sets, a lot of times it seemed like the third linebacker was always playing on the line of scrimmage. What are your thoughts on stacking linebackers in a 4-3 versus having that third linebacker come down and play on the line?
You know, I think it just depends on what you're facing and what you're trying to do. You want to try not to be predictable. Sometimes you have to be based on what you're getting and the opponent, but you'd like to be able to have both, and there's different reasons for it, but it really just depends on what you're getting from the offense.
Right next door, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Jim, as a defense, I know you want to make things cloudy for a quarterback, but I also assume it makes it easier when you can get him off his spots, not let him get stationary, get the feet set. When you've seen CJ on the practice field, how does he respond to those type of things? How have you seen him maybe improve as he's worked through that?
He's great. I mean, he's the best I've ever been around. He can see the rotation and know what, like every defense that you call has a hole in it somewhere, right? And what we do is try to disguise those holes, right? I mean, if you really wanted to stop every play, you need like 14 guys out there. I mean, it's just think about it. If you were truly trying, if you're like, hey, we're going to stop them every play, but he is CJ is a guy who loves the game. Will continue to ask me questions if we do something against them in practice. Hey, what were you thinking here? Why did you do that? So he's just, and of course he's got all the talent, but he also has the mind for it.
Right next door, Tony Gervin, Buckeye Huddle.
Did you feel any pressure? Not that you brought Tanner over, but him coming over. Did you feel any pressure in him coming here and him having to live up to the way he has played, but also playing at Ohio State?
No, I didn't feel any pressure. I had a lot of confidence in him. He and me, we've trained a certain way for 4 years. So, we come here, we train and think the same way. And it's not about pressure. It's more about the process and just doing it. So I felt good the fact that he was going to come in here and do things the way we've always done it in terms of the process, and he was going to do just fine.
Right next door, Cameron Teague Robinson, The Athletic.
Jim, Denzel seems to be playing better since he came back from injury. Just what has been your evaluation of him the last few weeks? And have you seen anything different from him from early in the year to now, or is he the same?
No, Denzel is the same. I mean, he is a competitive but quiet, talented. I've always had great confidence, and I continued throughout the season. Like I said, if he wasn't making enough plays because he is talented and skill, you have to then look at the calls, which goes on me. So, but he has always been a really, fun guy to coach. I don't know if I'm fun, so I'm not having that much fun, but I mean, he's an easy guy to coach. He's coachable. He competes, he tries hard, he listens to what you have to say, And I think that's what you want. You want a guy who is going to respond, and he's always responded to every challenge since I've been here.
Got time for just a few more. Spencer Holbrook, fourth row right, Letterman row.
Jim, you guys have forced a turnover in you've had an interception in 5 straight games. We asked you a few weeks ago, before you've had any turnovers, if those were coming. Can you snowball turnovers? Is that a thing that a defense can do?
What did I say when you asked me if they were coming?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Yes. Hey, call that defense where we get a turnover. You know what I mean? That's all. It's like not like basketball where you call. Hey, we're going to get the ball right. I mean, it is, but there is something to what you say. I mean, there is something to momentum. There is something with guys being comfortable in the system, taking more chances, growth. I mean, those are the things that you want to see, and it's been happening. So all valid points. I just think it's part of the process. If the process is going the right way, that's one of the indicators that you're doing good things.
So you get a quick follow-up. Tanner said after the game that he feels like he's watching guys maybe cheat a little bit. They could start to show one thing, do another thing. Are you seeing more of that in your defense? And do you think that's causing more turnovers, that guys are comfortable enough to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I know it helps. It helps. It just helps guys play freer, and that's the goal. My goal is to have them play free because they understand the totality of the scheme and where they fit, and they can give other looks and get out of it. And that's part of the growth.
Over your far right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Just curious if your perception of Penn State has changed from being a younger man, Paterno, Eastern powerhouse, now in the Big Ten. Has their profile been diminished at all in the state of Pennsylvania, for instance?
Not in my mind. I mean, you're right. I grew up watching. Anybody in here as old as me? You did Sunday morning. You had the 1 hour time slot where they would recap the game. And always well respected, and what Coach Franklin has done. Great respect for that. So I haven't seen it change. I mean, I think in coaching, you're kind of aware of everything. But I think they've done a great job of keeping it as consistent.
Far left, Ryan McGee, ESPN.
Coach, I want to ask you about guys you see in practice on the other side of the football. You've seen a lot of great receivers at your stops along the way. This group seems pretty special. What is it about them that stands out to you when you're working with them in practice and against them in practice?
The finish. Absolutely. I mean, routes are great, speed, all of that, but actually completing the catch is as good or better than I've ever seen, and we see it every day in practice. They just they just get it done. Yep.
Deep left, Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
When you first turn on the film to look at the next team on the schedule, or the first time you turn on the film on your team, what is the first thing you're looking at? And then can you sort of walk us through the process of how you're evaluating and deciding what you're going to do as you're watching that film?
Explosive plays, right? I mean, you want to look first at how they're making their explosive plays, out of what formations, what scheme. I think explosive plays are a big part of stopping a team. So we definitely look at that. Look at things, and then it's just an hours long process of looking at formations and down and distances and tendencies and field position, and there's a lot of writing, a lot of scribbling, for myself in terms of the way I do it. But everybody probably has a different process, but that's how I go.
Final question, front row. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Just to follow up on Penn State, just having grown up in the Northeast, did you ever go there for clinics, interact with coaches much on the road? Just what's your experience with that school?
I have not had the chance to be there a whole lot, to be honest with you. So it was more of just I know that it was extremely important to the people that I grew up with. You know, as a kid, you learn that, hey, this is important to people. You know, the excellence of the program and the success. And I think if you play football, which I always did, you know, you fall in line with that, and you look at it, you know, as, you know, a really successful program. So, but I haven't had the chance to be around there much.
Coach Bill's from Philadelphia, so he gets one final question. Philadelphia.
World Series, baby.
Right.
Don't burn down the city. Right.
You guys got Cameron Martinez on the field a little bit as like I guess it was a 6 DB at some time. What have you thought of his progression, and do you see that role being able to evolve?
Yeah, I think Cam is an excellent player. I really love his coverage skills. I mean, his feet. He's got great feet. He's a competitor. He's just been hampered by injury. You know, he's going to keep playing more as long as he's healthy.
Coach, thank you very much. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, all right, I'll find the name of the guy.
It's called current favorite football playoff.
You see that stat though? Every time the Phillies win a World Series, like the road goes to shit though.
Yeah, Great Depression,
Yeah,
2008 housing collapse. Yeah, so make sure your stuff's in order.
Is that your question? Oh, you're sitting here. Oh, okay. And did the coach say, let's get this done?
Some extra
Did I interrupt him? Coach Knowles? 1980. Oh, okay.
Oh, it is sometimes
No, he said.
it is sometimes tough to tell when he's done talking.
Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
just- you guys-
Okay. I thought I was interrupted.
Sometimes
And you
it's
said,
tough.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
get this done.
You gotta do it. That's a good phrase. If you think he's still gonna say something, then he just stops. It's like, I feel like he's been saying something. So Jerry gets the ball. And sometimes it's tough to tell when he's gonna stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It seems like he's gonna keep going. Boom.
Barry, what is the story about a little extra missing your award show?
What's that?
What is the story about missing your award show?
Well, he would, yeah, it would, he missed it.
He seemed to have the purview to find him to not be in there.
We'll open up the floor for Coach Wilson, second row middle, NathanBarrettCleveland.com.
I mean, obviously that was one of the tougher days running the ball you guys have had this season. I was part of that, but when you re-examined that, where did you feel like you guys need to be better in that same situation going forward?
One, just staying on blocks. They did a really nice job. They're always good fundamentally, and I just thought their hand placement and getting off blocks, and we felt early some plays that were maybe be 2 and 3, needed to get to 3 and 4, and as the game went along, you could get a little bit more. They did a nice job of not changing things they do, but we kind of felt even going into it, they're a quarters team, but we felt we'd get some edge pressures and single high looks, and getting them fitted up and just getting hats on hats, try to run some stretch plays where we bled it out, got a little thin, a little flat, and got penetration. So a couple negative plays got us, but just in general, they played better than us, and we got played better across the board. And inside a little bit, we got those guys. We got good players. Didn't maybe have our best game, so credit those guys. They kind of won some one-on-one battles, made some good plays.
Deep left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Kevin, when you guys are in a fourth down situation, kind of what's your philosophy on whether or not to go for it in that situation?
I think I mean, it's, each game's different, weather, wind, situation, how you're playing. Coach, years ago when I was working with Coach Stoops, he was very aggressive as a defensive guy because he kind of felt you need to get the first down because I don't know if we're stopping them. And I remember sometimes I told him, I said, I couldn't believe you went for that. He goes, I didn't matter. Years ago, I think everybody was critical. I think Coach Belichick going against the Colts went for it. He goes, well, whether I give the ball here or down there, he's going to score. So I need to get a first down. So are you in the mindset of you have to get the first down? Sometimes, we got a great punter that pooches it deep. And if the yardage gets to that 3 and 4 and 5 muddy area, maybe you just, pooch it, pin them down because your defense is playing really strong and you can play 3 or 4 snaps and get it right back. That's in our plan to win. Field position's big in our plan to win. Part of field position is trying to get the first 2 first downs, get the ball to midfield. If you bog down, punt it deep, get the defense packed down there and get it right back in midfield and start again. So, I think people got an analytically. People talk a lot about analytics. I think football coaches look at a piece of paper and we all sit here for hours and we plan and script everything. I think some of the greatest coaches in our game are basketball coaches that go on feel and flow. I need a timeout. I need to go full court. I need a zone. I need to pack it in. They make adjustments. And as football coaches, you have to make adjustments. I think the really good coaches, I think Coach Day does a great job. It's feel. And you feel like I need to go get it. Now we still got to trust the players and execute, run play or pass play. The day of a short yardage 4th down, we threw it. But it's a one-on-one throw. I mean, it's a high percentage throw with a really good quarterback and a really good receiver. So you can say you didn't run it for a half a yard, but it was a loaded box, more than you can block, and a good one-on-one match. So I think you got to trust your gut, trust your players, trust your judgment. And I think when you get greedy, you get burned for what it's worth. So you just got to be smart.
We'll stay out in the left field there. Tom Moore, Buckeye Huddle.
Just ask Jim this. When you first turn on the film to look at a new team, they haven't started evaluating it, what is the first thing you're looking at when you evaluate them? And you just kind of walk me through your process of how you evaluate
My process is different because a lot of years I've been in the box. So like, I don't like to look at words. Like we can put our video up and it says what the play is. I don't want to see the words. I want to get a snapshot because you got 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, where's the front set? Where's the extra backers? What's the coverage? What's the rotation? Did they blitz? Did they stunt? And so it's like snapshot. It's like flashcards. Give me a flashcard. Give me a flashcard. So I just kind of rapid fire, look at it. We get several views of the game from end zone and sideline view. And initially you're just getting a feel of the structure of what, how the flow of the game. Sometimes, we get snapshots. So you start looking at cut-ups and you just see certain plays, you get a feel. Sometimes it's really nice to watch the flow of the game more than just this formation and how they line up to this set and that set. So it's a combination of what are they doing? Like, typically you watch 2 or 3. I watch 2 or 3 games Sunday night real fast, just as, there's a lot of man, a lot of zone, a lot of pressure, there's a lot of penetration, there's a lot of movement. What are you seeing just generally? And then you come in Monday and you start getting a little bit more specific. Okay, to this formation, what do you see? And then the next day, these situations, short yardage, goal line, long yardage, 2-minute, coming out, what do you see? So it starts with generalization. Who are their best players? What are the problems? This team's a pressure team. Okay, what are the pressure problems? This team's really good up front. This team's a great coverage team. What are the problems? And then you start peeling it back from there. And then coach, what he does, everyone has certain segments that, okay, go study this and bring some ideas to the table. We all talk about it together, but every guy has different areas that quote is their expertise. They look at every week and they'll bring some things to the table. And like, tomorrow we'll start with short yardage and goal line. Okay, what do you like? We'll bring me and Coach Fry will bring some things to the table, Coach Hinton and Coach Alford, and then we all hash it out and go from there. 3rd and long, what do you have? Hash it out, go from there.
Let's see, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask 2 questions that might even go hand in hand here. One about 3rd downs and one about CJ. The idea that maybe 3rd downs weren't as strong as you've often had them this past week, are there common threads there? And what were the things that you saw that maybe flustered CJ a little bit in the first half? Were there common threads there?
Yeah, I think the first half was kind of unusual because our defense created phenomenally so many short fields that their structure, like after the first couple of possessions, like, what are they doing? I don't know. Is that a formation normal down call because we're on the field, or was that ball on the 20-yard line and that's a reduced red zone call? You saw that to that formation, 1st down, 3rd down, whatever it was. But was that a 3rd down red zone call or a 3rd down call? And so it's kind of hard to kind of get in the flow because you want those things, but it was like a blessing of short fields, over and over and over, and had a hard time almost as good as it was. Just what throws do you have? The zones are getting condensed. What runs get working? And they're pretty daggum good. I think they'd only given up 55, 60, 70 points in the first 6 games. So they're a stout defense. So one, you got to give those guys a lot of credit, like we said last week. Problems on third down. I think it always just starts when our protection's good and our quarterback can stand in there and get through his reads and step into throws. He's going to be pretty good. So I'd always start with just making sure that what we're doing and helping our offensive line and whether it be the timing of throws to get them out on time. Because again, you're looking at matchups. I'd always tell, like my guys will tell you, they're not beating the guy covering them. They're beating the guy rushing the offensive tackle. Everything they're doing is relation to time and space. So how much time do you have? You can work this route all day, but you got 2.2, so you better be showing you're open because CJ's got to move because it's not lasting. So just coordinating time and space, protection timing, helping those guys out. But when protections are good, they did a really nice job, like all defenses, of showing early and making him read post-snap and making the pocket work post-snap. And the really great defenses make you work, and they made us work last Saturday, and these guys will this Saturday. It's a tremendous defense for playing this week.
Front row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, we know about Marvin Harrison's work ethic. I want to know what you think his best physical attribute is. Hands, route running, speed, obviously size, whatever. What jumps out to you?
He's physically and mentally matured where he's trying, but he's got to be it's an unusual skill. I think he is as tall as he is. He's actually somewhat not long-legged, which means he's very quick in and out breaks. Most tall guys can get a little cumbersome and long, and they're long striders. So for a 6'4" guy that has length and can go up and make plays on balls, have tremendous catch radius and great hands, he is a great top-end route runner because, his legs probably match a 6-foot body instead of a 6'4" body. It just allows him to be really quick on the top end working breaks. It's an unusual skill set, the way his body is gifted, and he's able to, he's got really good speed, but I think he's got unusual quickness for a young man that's that big and that tall and long.
Second row.
That's my opinion as an O-line guy.
Kevin, obviously you're adapting in the midst of every game to what the defense is doing, but how do you strike the balance between we need to make adjustments, we need to maybe do some things differently, versus this was our game plan, we're going to grind it out, we're going to work it out, keep doing what we do in the midst of any game? Because clearly in the middle of the third quarter, you guys broke stuff open against Iowa. What's the balance like as you're working through a game?
It's hard because, again, we have a lot of plays, a lot of players, a lot of playmakers, try to get a lot of guys involved. I said before, you can become a collage. I think I made a statement during the game third quarter and said, hey, what runs we really got us? Well, coach, let's talk about those runs we just talked about halftime. Let's go back to those 2 or 3, kind of get it started. We'll be fine. Let's run those couple, because you feel sometimes you're searching. You want so bad every play to work so well, stay on schedule, every play to be clean. And sometimes you're playing really good defenses this time of year with weather. You got to play through the muck, and you got to be, a golfer that's a little bit off, but you can still scratch it around and kick in the hole and make a couple ugly pars once in a while. And sometimes you got to be able to play through it. But you got to be, when you're off, you can't be off and hurt yourself. And you can't have the negative plays. You can't have the turnovers. You can't have the plays that get you behind schedule. Let the defensive front tee off in third and long situations. Coverage get multiple in the looks, third and long situations. So when you're a little bit off, how can you just minimize the ugliness of it to strain and stay on schedule and find the rhythm? And sometimes you just got to press pause and stay calm, and just, okay, let's talk about it. Now, hey, no, let's just, this and this, what pass you like, what protection you feel good about, what run you like, and because I think once we get our guys in rhythm, especially with CJ, you saw the day once he kind of got in rhythm, but it's easy to get off. Just like those guys. My son's a college golfer. It's easy to be really good and just get a little bit off. And it doesn't take a lot to be off. I had a great coach one time years ago. It just takes a little bit to be off. When you're off, you're vulnerable. We're a little bit off the other day, but we settled back down against a good defense and got back on track. And that was good to see. It was good to be there. It was good to be at home. We'll get that again this week and see if we can be a little bit more efficient, get there quicker. But those challenges are going to present themselves in these next 5-6 weeks.
Front row right, Tim May, let him in a row.
Yeah. Kevin, when you're going against a defense with a player like Joey Porter, do y'all look at it as, number one, you don't want to let that guy take away something, that y'all like to do, and yet do And do you also kind of like get the, I don't know, the adrenaline going? Hey, do we want to challenge this guy? You understand what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, I think it goes back to
where
that.
did fall? I mean,
Yeah, I know. It goes back to that, I guess greed part, just being smart. You can't just cross the guy off and not challenge the guy, but also you got to be smart. Years ago, we had a really good win at Miami. We beat Carolina, and Coach Walker said, "You throw more than 20 passes, we'll lose. We can't block these guys." And we threw 2 deep balls at Dre Bly, and he said, "Okay, you made your point. Don't do that ever again." So I mean, but it ain't like, Joey's a great player. They have the other corner is equally probably overshadowed because of name is also. They're really good outside the corners. So our guys going to have to work hard to get open and do what it takes to win the routes. We got to deliver the ball and go on time, but you don't shy away from it, but you just got to be careful, not be greedy as a runner, as a quarterback, and as a play caller.
As you play that in your head, also Michigan just ran the ball down their throat. I mean, for the most part. I mean, you had some big plays and stuff, but do you take all that into it? Because it looks like their secondary may be the strength of their defense, and up front there may be some hay to bail.
Yeah, and I don't know, Minnesota, I guess, has had some injuries, but then they came back last week against a team. Now I know with the quarterback situation, maybe the box got a little bit more loaded. But each week, one game on the road, one game at home, they play so much off the energy of what's going to be a great crowd, no matter what the kick time is, and the energy. So we're going to have to block them up front. We're going to have to be smart and make the plays outside, but we're going to get challenged across the board. And we can't back away from the challenge, but we just got to be very aggressive, but very smart and calculated as we go.
Austin Ward, rivals.
You and Ryan don't script the opening drive. Has that philosophy changed throughout your career? Did you used to do that?
Yeah, I used to. When we put the 15, and I felt over time that you were trying to make everybody happy. Hey, we got to get their diversity. And hey, this guy needs a touch. Hey, make sure you run the naked to this guy. Hey, we need to get a counter play and come with the ball. And you were a collage of plays. And then over time, I just, when I was up in the box, I just write down like, hey, 5 or 6 each time. And I just did it so I didn't go run, pass, run, pass, just to mix it up. Is your first play a run or pass? What you're doing on second down, run or pass? Just to kind of keep the defensive guy, off balance. The way he couldn't get a rhythm for what you were doing. So I go back to that comment about the basketball coaches adjust, where football guys have a piece of paper and follow the script. And the great quote is, you have a game plan, you get hit in the mouth. What do? You have, every week here, typically, no matter what you prepare for, you get some curveballs because people are going to throw some stuff at us. So we have to adjust, have to adapt. And I think our kids are very much, I think Ryan made a great comment about our players the other day. He said, I think one of the greatest skills about our team is they love to play. They love the challenge of solving problems. And okay, look, I didn't expect this guy to be as wide in this alignment. I didn't expect this defender to challenge me as much. I didn't expect this much pressure or movement up front. But now you're getting it. How do you handle it? Good teams handle it on the sideline during halftime and during the game. Bad teams come in on Sunday and talk about what they should have done. And so it's just nice that we, as we continue to get challenged, we keep problem solving. That's all football and offense is problem solving.
Front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Kevin, I have a question about play calling. Obviously, Ryan has the final say, but how often do you call the play and he says, yeah, let's do that? Is that a pretty common occurrence?
Yeah. I mean, we I don't know. I mean, no one's taking credit for anything. It's just what we do, how we do it. I mean, he's got, he's the, like I said last week, the grand marshal of the parade running deal, but we throw some stuff, but you got to be careful. There's not a lot of talking during plays. I know for a long time having called that sometimes, when the play is called before we run, hey, coach, next play, hey, you think, how about a counter? Hey, do you think we need a misdirection play? Do you think we should take a shot, move the pocket? You don't do that right when he's ready to. So there's an art of when to talk, because too much talk leads to clutter. Leads almost, you've got a thought, you hear something, it's like somebody throwing you a curveball there. Like, hey, well, where's that coming from? So there's a calculated way to work together. And I think we do that well. We do it really well. A lot of times, like, hey, Kevin, Justin, Tony, give me 3 runs this next drive. Which 2 do you like the best? And then sometimes he'll build the passing with that as we move down the field as we go to. So it's a collective effort. There's a little bit of talking, but typically it's once the play's called, hey, hey, coach, this one, if you want it, or don't say anything. It's done before the drive, and let the flow of the game kind of go. It's my opinion.
Right behind Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Just based off Donnie and PJ's reaction, but then also what actually happened. But whose fault was the strip sack, basically, and what was supposed to happen on that stunt? How were they supposed to handle that?
It was to the man side, the way we were sliding our protection, and we knew we were going to be in an empty formation. And we actually kind of decided, like, hey, we're going to do this. So you're going to be an empty. You're going to get a twist here. And unfortunately, I think our inside guy just kind of buried his body and got stuck on the whole man and couldn't bump it off. So it just wasn't executed properly. Two guys on two man scheme. Kind of felt there was a good chance it was happening. Just didn't execute it. Not blaming the kid. We just got to be better than that.
Got time for just a few more folks. Second row right, Bill Landis, Rivals.
Kevin, we saw a couple times on Saturday, you guys ran a play where Luke and I think it was Donovan pulled. I'm not sure we've seen the center guard combo pulling back and forth. It just feels like each week there's a little different wrinkle to the run game, something you guys sprinkle in. Was that the conversation you had in the offseason to make sure you're more purposeful about that? And then what have you thought of the run game mix so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to get on the perimeter. Sometimes you try to just gang everybody up in areas, zone, stretch, block, and work your spaces and get outside. Other times you try to use angles, and really that's not necessarily a new play. It's just based on the structure. If the tackle could be the puller, first puller he has, maybe it's the guard. Maybe the center has to stay on the down guy and the backside guard's pulling. Maybe the center's uncovered and he's pulling. So you're typically pulling one or two guys leading a little G old green spread version of the Green Bay Packers sweep. And so the first puller out's the kick, second puller's the lead guy. In that case, when Luke and Donovan are pulling, or Matt on the right, first guy's to kick out, and Luke's up on the deal. So to do that, though, you got to be pretty good at tight end to handle that defensive end because he's a man block. The tackle's got to block down to the guard. It's a man block. So when you pull guys, you got man schemes. So your men have to block those guys. And it was nice to get the guys pulling, but Cade did a really good job on that D. And when your tight end can't make the block, you got to do area zone blocking. And so that's just a variation of trying to get the ball in the perimeter. Run game's been okay. It's always hard. It's challenging. No matter how well we throw the ball, you have to put extra guys to stop the run. And no matter who the defense is, as good as our receivers, quarterback play has been, the college game is wired on making a team throw the ball. So when we get our run game going, we're really good. The other day it struggled for a long time to get going, and that's why we played some muddy football for about 2 quarters there. But if we can get the run game going each week with the skill guys, we got a chance to be a decent offense for sure.
Front row middle, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, Ryan mentioned Chip Training's gone on the offensive side of the ball to help your depth at running back. Just what do you make of his ability as a running back from what you've seen in kind of a brief time?
We've done that back in preseason a couple of days with when Evan Pryor went out, just in case, and it looked like naturally. I mean, he's a heavier load, but very good instincts. Very good hands. Has played running back in concepts. We start saying it's 6-man pro. You got this. 5-man pro. You got this. 7-man pro. You got this. This run. You got this. So he's played it enough. He picks up well. Was a really good player, previous college and in high school. So he looks good. And if needed, he was doing well at linebacker, but they're a little bit more healthy, and he was playing special teams down the road. And with our 2 backs having been gimpy, we thought we needed to get him back. So he's getting worked up, and I think he'll move forward as we keep going and get a little play for us.
Second row left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask about Jackson. This is kind of an analogy. The train's going down the track at 30 or 40 miles per hour, and he's trying to catch it and jump on the back of the train maybe 8 games into it. Just how hard is it to bring a guy in? I know he's been in the program and everything, but for him to be performing at a high level within this offense when you guys have 8 games of momentum already built up, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure it's hard. I mean, it's probably less hard for him because he's played a lot and he's so gifted. But just emotionally, just your thoughts and as you're going through things, the stresses that you put on yourself, what you're trying to accomplish. I would always tell our team, like we go into situations and people talk about losing. You can't lose what you don't have. Like you never had this season. We don't have this game Saturday. You can't lose it. You have to go win it. You have to go win things. You have to do things. So, you can't live your life saying, what if? You just got to deal with some things. And it's unfortunate because he's a special talent, special player, a great practice player, an awesome practice player, one of the best I've ever been around. So for him to be where it is, but, the good Lord's got those plans. And, he's going to have a bright, long, great future, but short term, selfishly, I'd love to get him back because he's special and a great Buckeye. So we'll see what the short term goes. But, at the same time, in this day and age, these guys put so much stress and pressure on yourselves. You try to do as much as you can to be there and love them and care for them more than whatever. Just relax and trust the good Lord and and trust what you're about, because he is a tremendous talent and he's a better person. And we'll see where it goes for him.
Coach, thank you very much.
All right, guys.
I'm sorry.
Go Bucks.
I just had